Welcome to the Omni Dental podcast. Imagine moving to a new town and trying to find a new healthcare provider.
Oh, it's always such a massive headache.
It really is. You go online, you click on a Clinics About Us page, and you usually know exactly what you're going to get. I mean, it's just the standard corporate playbook.
Right, the perfectly staged stock photos of diverse people smiling in a lobby.
Exactly. Just vague buzzwords about like synergy or celebrating community, but with zero actual substance. It leaves you wondering who these people actually are and what it's really like to sit in their chair.
Yeah, well, it's a very specific, polished aesthetic, and it's designed entirely for safety. I mean, businesses want to check a public relations box without actually making themselves vulnerable.
Which is totally understandable from a business perspective, right?
Sure, but as a consumer, and especially as a patient, that surface level polish doesn't actually tell you if a provider is going to understand your specific needs or, your background or your anxieties.
Which brings us to the mission for today's deep dive. We're looking at a set of materials from a practice that completely throws that glossy, safe playbook out the window.
And it is so refreshing to see.
It really is.
Okay.
We're examining the About Us page and a remarkably candid blog post from Omni Dental, which is a practice located in Arlington Heights, Illinois. The post is literally titled, How We're Involved in the Local Assyrian Community.
Right.
And what they're doing here is effectively tearing down the usual marketing facade to build something deeply authentic.
It's just a fascinating case study in communication.
Yeah.
Because instead of trying to be everything to everyone, they are using strategic candor.
And before we get into the psychology of how they do that, let's lay out the facts of who we're actually talking about.
Yeah.
So Omni Dental is led by Dr. Bayless Poles, who brings over a decade of clinical experience to the practice.
And they aren't just operating as a tiny neighborhood spot either.
No, not at all. They draw patients from a massive interconnected geographic web across Chicago's northwest suburbs. We're talking about covering Arlington Heights, obviously, but also Buffalo Grove, Palatine, Mount Prospect, Rolling Meadows.
I think Schaumburg and Wheeling are in there too, right?
Yeah, Schaumburg, Wheeling, Des Plaines, and Elk Grove Village.
That is a massive footprint. And, when a practice serves an area that large, they're encountering incredibly diverse pockets of people.
Right.
So to effectively treat that many different demographics, you really have to understand the specific cultural landscapes of the communities you operate in.
Which brings us to the core of the materials we're looking at today. The Chicago area is home to one of the largest Assyrian populations in the United States.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize it was that large.
Yeah, and according to the sources, this isn't just like a passing demographic trend. Over the past several decades, as families grew and sought more space, this community migrated from the city limits of Chicago out into the near north and northwest suburbs.
Taking root in places like Skokie, Niles, Des Plaines, and Arlington Heights.
Exactly. And when a community of that size establishes roots, they don't just buy houses. They build the infrastructure of a lasting culture.
Right. They build schools, community organizations, and, critically, religious institutions that serve as the heartbeat of the neighborhood.
Yeah, the sources specifically highlight congregations connected to the Assyrian Church of the East, the Chaldean Catholic Church, and the Syriac Orthodox Church.
And these aren't just places of worship, They're central hubs for language, family milestones, and social support.
But let me play devil's advocate here for a second, because if I'm listening to this, I might be wondering, why does a dental practice need to care about the migration patterns and church infrastructure of a specific demographic?
That's a fair point.
Right.
Right.
Isn't it a local dentist's job to just focus on fixing teeth?
It's a completely fair question, but it really gets to the very core of what patient-centered care actually means. You have to remember that a patient does not leave their cultural background or their family dynamics or religious obligations at the door when they walk into a clinic.
Okay, so it's about treating the human attached to the tooth.
Exactly. Think about the psychological toll it takes on a patient when they have to explain their cultural context from scratch over and over again to every single medical professional they see.
Oh, man. That would be exhausting.
It is. Imagine you're a patient going in for a routine procedure, and you constantly have to explain to a new hygienist or a different front desk staff member why a certain time of year doesn't work for you due to religious fasting.
Right, or why your family structure operates a certain way.
Exactly. It creates friction.
It sounds like you have to be an ambassador for your own life before you can even get medical care.
That's the perfect way to phrase it. The continuity of a patient's identity is just as important as the continuity of their medical chart. When a healthcare provider already understands the neighborhood's history and cultural rhythms, the patient feels understood before they even open their mouth. It lowers their defenses.
Which is critical in a high-anxiety environment like dentistry, right?
Absolutely.
And given that this Assyrian community is so deeply established in these specific suburbs, the typical business playbook would be to, well, exploit that.
Oh, 100%.
Right. A marketing agency would tell the clinic to slap an Assyrian flag on the website homepage, claim to have a bunch of deep partnerships, and use that vague, celebrating diversity language.
It's the path of least resistance. It's performative localization.
But Omni Dental takes the exact opposite approach. In their blog post, they explicitly admit in writing to the general public that they do not have formal sponsorships or named partnerships with local Assyrian organizations or churches right now.
Which is pretty bold to just put out there.
It is. And they openly state they don't currently have confirmed Assyrian, Syriac, or Arabic-speaking staff on the daily roster, though they do note that staffing changes. So patients are always welcome to ask.
From a traditional business perspective, that is stunning. It's almost anti-marketing.
Yeah.
They are actively refusing to join the list of businesses that claim deep community ties they can't actually back up. And they go even further, stating point blank that they aren't going to pretend to have some deep, scholarly expertise in Assyrian religious or cultural practices.
Why do that, though? I mean, why advertise what you can't do?
Because it is one of the most effective ways to build unbreakable trust. By openly admitting their limitations, they prove their integrity.
Okay, that makes sense.
Right. If they're willing to tell you the unvarnished truth about their staffing and sponsorships, you are infinitely more likely to believe them when they tell you the truth about a clinical diagnosis.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
There's a quote from Dr. Poles in the source material that sums up their philosophy perfectly. He says, "Surprises tend to erode trust faster than almost anything else in a dental relationship."
Okay, but a lot of businesses claim they hate surprises. It's an easy thing to put on a poster in a waiting room.
Sure, it's a great slogan.
But in dentistry, a surprise isn't like a misplaced lunch order. A surprise usually means a hidden $1,000 bill.
Yeah.
Or it means unexpected physical pain.
Exactly.
So how do they actually prevent those kinds of surprises?
They prevent them by completely rethinking the intake process. According to the sources, care for a new patient at Omni Dental starts before a single dental instrument is even picked up.
Oh, really? How so?
They begin with an unhurried, actual conversation. Yes, they ask about your dental history, but they also dig into your specific concerns. They ask about things that made past visits at other clinics difficult.
So they're actively looking for the patient's pain points, whether that was physical discomfort in the chair, anxiety about cost, or simply times when the patient felt like they weren't being listened to by a provider.
Right. And that last point, not feeling heard, is one of the biggest drivers of dental anxiety in the world.
I can totally see that.
Often, a dentist will just look at an x-ray, dictate a rigid treatment plan, and walk out of the room. But by walking through options together, Omni Dental is sharing the power with the patient.
So they're prioritizing upfront conversations about cost and timelines early on.
Yes, which directly eliminates the financial and logistical surprises you mentioned earlier.
It kind of reminds me of going on a first date, where the person actually admits their quirks and flaws right up front, instead of pretending to be absolute perfection.
That's a fantastic analogy.
Like if someone sits down and says, "Hey, I'm a terrible texter and I can be a bit of a neat freak," it instantly drops your defenses. You think, okay, they're not putting on a show for me.
Exactly. It makes you trust the positive things they say about themselves that much more.
Dropping those defenses has to be the ultimate goal in a clinical setting.
It is. And where this philosophy of candor really intersects with their focus on the local community is how they handle religious observances.
Okay, let's get into that.
The sources point out that many Assyrian families in the area are active members of Christian traditions. Again, the Church of the East, Chaldean Catholic, Syriac Orthodox.
Right.
And for these communities, fasting periods, particularly around Lent, are highly meaningful and strictly observed.
And the clinic actually addresses this directly, which I found fascinating. Omni Dental makes it a point to say, tell our front desk team about your fasting schedule.
Yes, they want to actively plan around the patient's life instead of trying to force the patient to work around the clinic's schedule.
But I want to dig into the mechanics of that for a second, because how does taking the time to discuss a patient's Lent fasting schedule actually change the physical, clinical outcome of a dental procedure? Let's say for a root canal.
It fundamentally changes the clinical outcome because of two things, physiology and compliance. Let's look at the physiology first. When you try to force a patient to schedule a medical procedure during a time that conflicts with their deeply held religious beliefs, you drastically elevate their baseline stress levels. And stress isn't just a feeling in your head, It is a profound physiological state.
Meaning their body's actually reacting differently while they're sitting in the chair.
Exactly. High anxiety triggers the release of cortisol and adrenaline. It raises blood pressure. But most importantly for a dentist, acute stress actually lowers a patient's pain threshold.
Wait, really?
Yeah, it alters how their central nervous system processes stimuli, which means local anesthesia might not be as effective.
Oh, cow.
If a patient is deeply stressed because they're worried they're breaking a religious fast to get this procedure done, they're going to be incredibly tense, their pain tolerance will drop, and the procedure becomes physically more difficult for both the patient and the doctor.
That is wild. So acknowledging their cultural calendar actually makes the anesthesia work better because the patient is relaxed. That makes complete sense. And you mentioned compliance as the second factor.
Yes, treatment compliance. Complex dental work often requires post-procedure care. After a root canal or an extraction, you might need to take strong pain medications that explicitly require you to eat a full meal beforehand to avoid severe nausea.
Oh, right.
Or you might need to eat specific types of soft foods for a week.
Yeah, if you prescribe a medication that must be taken with food, but the patient is in the middle of a strict dawn to dusk religious fast, they're either going to skip the medication and be in agony, or they're going to break their fast and feel terrible about it.
Exactly. Or they might just avoid booking the follow-up appointment altogether out of sheer frustration.
Which is bad for everyone.
By proactively asking about these cultural rhythms, Omni Dental ensures that the treatment plan actually fits the reality of the patient's life.
Which increases the chances that they'll actually follow the post-op instructions perfectly.
Right, which leads to better healing. You transform a sterile, transactional encounter into what the industry calls a long-term dental home.
And building that dental home is vital when you look at the sheer technical scope of what they are offering under Dr. Pohl's leadership. Because if you are going to trust a practice to do major work, you need that foundation of trust.
Oh, absolutely.
We aren't just talking about a clinic that does routine cleanings and fills the occasional cavity.
Far from it. The sources detail a highly advanced clinical operation. They are handling everything from toddlers coming in for preventive care to seniors needing full mouth reconstructions.
Let's break down some of the technology they use, because the terminology in the sources is pretty dense. For instance, they mention specializing in all-on-4 dental implants and full arch implants, as well as bone grafting.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
What exactly is the mechanism there? Why is that so important?
It's a massive leap forward in dental technology. For listeners who might not be familiar, if someone loses all their teeth on the top or bottom, traditionally they would get removable dentures.
Which can slip, cause discomfort, and make eating really difficult.
Exactly. The all-on-4 procedure is a biomechanical solution where an entire arch of permanent replacement teeth is anchored securely into the mouth using just 4 precisely angled titanium posts embedded directly into the jawbone.
Wait, so instead of replacing 14 individual teeth with 14 individual screws, they use geometry to map out just 4 incredibly strong anchor points.
Exactly. By angling the posts, they maximize the use of the patient's existing bone density.
Well, that's brilliant.
Yeah, and this often eliminates the need for extensive bone grafting, which is when they have to add structural material to a thinning jawbone to hold an implant.
That sounds intense.
It is. It turns what used to be a grueling multi-stage surgery spanning over a year into a highly streamlined process with drastically reduced recovery times.
That is life-changing for a patient's confidence and ability to eat.
Truly.
They also mentioned advanced restorative and cosmetic work. So root canal therapy, dental crowns, bridges, Invisalign aligners, smile makeovers, and prosthodontics. But they specifically highlight laser gum disease therapy.
Yes.
How does a laser change the experience of getting gum disease treated?
Traditional gum disease treatment often involved using metal instruments to scrape away tartar below the gum line, or even scalpels to cut away heavily infected tissue. It was invasive.
Oh, that sounds awful.
It wasn't fun. But laser gum therapy uses highly concentrated light energy. The specific wavelength of the laser is calibrated to target and vaporize the dark, diseased tissue and the bacteria while leaving the healthy pink tissue completely intact.
So it's microscopic precision. It's basically burning away the bad stuff without cutting the good stuff.
Precisely. And because the laser cauterizes the blood vessels as it works, There is significantly less bleeding, drastically reduced swelling, and a much faster, less painful recovery for the patient.
Okay, so they're marrying this high-end, cutting-edge technology with that deeply empathetic, unhurried communication style we talked about earlier.
Right.
And they're doing all of this while operating as an environmentally conscious practice. Now, I have to stop here because eco-friendly is another one of those buzzwords that gets thrown around a lot.
Oh, for sure.
How does a dental office, which is famously reliant on single-use plastics and sterilization, actually operate in an environmentally conscious way without compromising on patient safety?
It's a great question, and it really comes down to modernizing their underlying systems. In the past, dental offices generated a significant amount of toxic waste.
Like what?
Well, think about old-school x-rays. They required lead foils and toxic chemical developer fluids containing silver halide, which had to be carefully disposed of so they didn't contaminate local water supplies.
Right, the darkroom chemicals.
Exactly. An environmentally conscious practice today uses digital X-ray sensors, which entirely eliminate those toxic processing chemicals while also exposing the patient to up to 90% less radiation.
Oh, wow. That's a huge drop.
It really is.
Mm.
They also utilize digital impression scanners. So instead of filling your mouth with that gooey impression material, which creates physical waste that ends up in a landfill, they use a small wand to take thousands of pictures a second, creating a 3D digital model of your teeth.
So they are reducing chemical waste, reducing plastic impression waste, and keeping all their records digitally to cut down on paper.
Right.
It really paints a picture of a practice that is deeply thoughtful about the ripple effects of their actions, not just on the individual patient's health, but on the broader community's culture and on the physical environment itself.
It really is a holistic approach to their role as a local business, and the sources note that this advanced technology isn't just about being flashy either.
What do you mean?
They use it to achieve better accuracy in diagnosis and more efficient treatments, leading to care that is both highly effective and highly conservative. They only intervene when they absolutely have to, which goes right back to respecting the patient.
Okay, so we've established how they operate internally in the present. They treat every patient with attentive care, they use top-tier technology, and they don't pretend to be something they aren't. But I want to look at how Omni Dental envisions their future relationship with the Arlington Heights community, because they aren't just locking the doors at 5 p.m. and ignoring the neighborhood.
No, they have a very forward-looking vision. But again, it's grounded in that exact same philosophy of transparency and asking for permission rather than assuming authority.
Yeah, the blog post explicitly states that they want their community involvement to grow into something much more visible over time. But they are adamant that they want it to be genuine.
Right.
They say, in no uncertain terms, that they are not interested in a surface-level gesture just to have something to post on social media.
And this is where they make a brilliant move to build authentic ties. They issue an open invitation to the public,
Which I love.
They explicitly state that if you, the reader, are part of a local Assyrian organization, a church, or a community group, and you see a genuine, tangible way that Omni Dental could support your efforts, they want you to tell them.
It's so direct.
Yeah, they want to earn their reputation through word of mouth and real support, one interaction at a time.
To go back to our earlier analogies, it's like moving into a brand new neighborhood. Instead of just showing up to the annual block party, immediately trying to take over the grill and acting like you own the place, you walk up to your new neighbors and simply ask, hey, how can I help?
Yes.
Like, do you need me to bring ice? Do you need help setting up the chairs? You let the established community dictate where the need actually is.
That is a perfect illustration of the power dynamics at play here. In so many corporate community outreach programs, the business automatically assumes the role of the savior.
Right.
The business decides what the community needs based on what will look best for their brand. They fund a project, they slap a massive logo on it, and they expect gratitude in return.
Right. The classic oversized novelty check photo op for the local paper.
Exactly. What Dr. Poles and Omni Dental are doing is stepping back and humbly asking the community to guide them. They are essentially saying, we don't know the intricate details of what you need most, but we are here, we have resources, and we are willing to listen.
It completely shifts the power dynamic from the business to the community.
It does. It's collaborative rather than prescriptive.
And they make the logistics of that collaboration incredibly easy. The sources point out a frequently asked questions section on their site where they directly address how people can suggest support initiatives.
Yeah, they say just reach out through their contact page or simply give the front desk a call and they will follow up directly to talk it through.
They want involvement that feels meaningful to the people actually living in places like Schaumburg or Des Plaines or Wheeling.
It requires a tremendous amount of quiet confidence for a business leader to say, we are early in building these community connections. We don't have it all figured out, and your input matters to us.
Definitely.
It's an admission of being a work in progress, which is incredibly rare in the medical field.
It is rare, and it's incredibly refreshing. Okay, let's pull all of this together and unpack the major takeaways for you, the listener. What we're looking at with Omni Dental is essentially a masterclass in how a modern local business can build genuine, lasting ties with a complex community.
Right.
It's not achieved through flashy PR campaigns or pretending to be experts in someone else's culture.
No, it's achieved through meticulous, unhurried care. It's achieved through clear communication regarding the scary stuff like costs and complex treatment plans so that surprises are eliminated.
It's about offering top-of-the-line clinical solutions, from biomechanical all-on-4 implants to precision laser therapy under Dr. Pohl's leadership, ensuring patients don't have to travel far for expert care.
Exactly.
And above all, it's about a commitment to strategic candor regarding exactly where they stand today and where they hope the community will guide them tomorrow.
They are providing a blueprint for authentic integration. They're proving that you don't need to fake expertise to make a meaningful impact. You just need a genuine willingness to listen, to adapt your clinical approach, and to accommodate the people walking through your doors.
Exactly. And just as a quick reminder, for anyone listening in their service area, whether you were in Arlington Heights, Buffalo Grove, Palatine, or Elk Grove Village, you can reach out to experience this patient-first approach for yourself.
Definitely worth looking into.
Yeah, you can contact Omni Dental at 847-483-8833 or visit their website to book an appointment. Whether you just need a routine checkup, you're exploring advanced aesthetic services, or you have a dental emergency, they really are redefining what it means to be a trusted local provider.
And as we wrap up our analysis of these sources, this raises an interesting question, something I'd love for you to mull over after this deep dive is done.
Oh, I like where this is going.
We've just spent a lot of time analyzing how a local dental practice can build a staggering amount of trust simply by admitting what they don't know, skipping the polished buzzwords, and humbly asking the people around them for guidance. So how might applying that exact same vulnerability, stripping away our own carefully curated PR veneers, change the way we interact in our own professional lives and our personal relationships?
A phenomenal question to leave off on. We spend so much time curating our own flawless About Us pages in everyday life. Maybe it's time we just admitted we are a work in progress too. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.